Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the operator meeting. My name is Hannah Hickam, and I will be your host. We're just going to give folks a few more minutes to jump on board, and then we'll start off with the 1B presentation from Chris Eisinger. All right, it looks like the number of participants has leveled off, so we can go ahead and get started. As usual, we'll take questions at the end, so go ahead and chat those in as they come to you, and we will get to those at the end. And first up is Chris Eisinger, and I believe this is the 1A form. Maybe not that
one. Hannah, I'm going to do a little introduction before I actually start talking about the form. So good morning, everyone. I will be today giving you sort of an update as to where we are with deploying our new electronic forms for financial assurance. Jane Stanzik is going to be away for the next few weeks, and so I will be trying to provide updates weekly and also answer questions and work with people as we do roll out these forms. The good news is we are finally in a position where we have several of the key forms in a production setting, and we are just finishing up external testing with actual operators, and we hope to be releasing several of these forms this week. First and foremost is the Form 1B, the annual registration, and then the 1C, 3B, and 6A should all be available, hopefully, for everyone by the end of this week. As far as the Form 3 goes, we are still on track to finish our development sometime in the next few weeks, and then be doing internal and external testing in early to mid-August. So, and then deploying that in mid-August. The first thing I want also to remind people with regards to the 1B is that the effective date for payment of the mitigation fees is going to be August 1st. So we realize we're deploying this form a bit later than we'd like to, but we again should hopefully have this available in the next day or two, and you'll be able to start making payments then. For any of these financial assurance forms that we are rolling out, we will try to put announcements on our homepage and also potentially send out an email to everybody who's on the operator meeting list. But you can always look on our forms page on our website, which I've shown how you get to there. It's under regulation forms. And you will see in all these new forms have been added, and there's a column on the far right that actually has the link that takes you to the form. Right now, they currently say coming soon for these new forms, but once we do deploy them and they're available, that coming soon will disappear and you'll be able to just access them. Additionally, you can click on the actual name of the form, and that will take you to a page with instructions and a link to the staff contact for that particular form. So if you do have questions, you can reach out to that person about that. So the last thing I was do before I actually dive in, and at this point, if you've got really important things to do today and want to drop off, you're welcome to. We're going to go through each one of the forms that we're releasing this week, just in some detail to provide people information. But like I said, the forms are not quite available, but then will be available in the next few days. But before I started, I wanted to describe to you how these new forms work in our overall system, because we now have several different platforms for which we're deploying these forms. And first, and what you're most familiar with is most likely web forms. That's where most of our forms live right now, as you can see on the left there. But we've introduced more recently, and with these new forms, the eForms platform. And so it's going to look and feel a little bit different than what web forms is. And then finally, there's also what we call an online form for some of the forms as well. We hope to be consolidating the platform we're on over the coming months and year. But for right now, just know that no matter what platform you're on, your credentials for accessing it should be universal across all of them and will work on either one. And that the information you're entering into the form or that's used to populate form all interact with our database in the same way. So I just wanted to throw that out there so people are aware if they see these different formats for how they're filling out forms. That's the reason why, because we're employing some different form systems. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Form B. We'll kind of just go in order: 1B, 1C, 3B, and then Diane McCloy with our engineering group will talk about the 6A. The Form 1B is the annual registration, and some of this Jane Stanzik covered last week, so I'll kind of go through it fairly quickly. As I've said, it's due August 1st, and it's based upon the number of qualified wells an operator had on December 31st of 2021. If a transfer was pending or not yet approved on December 31st, the seller will still have ownership of those wells, would still have had ownership of those wells, and will need to submit the Form 1B and pay the fee. The 1B will auto-populate most all the information. You'll get a well list, production calculations, and then there'll be a fee determination. So there isn't really much the operator needs to do to fill out the 1B, but you obviously will want to check the information and make sure that it is correct. The well list and production data, if you want to check it to see what is going on the Form 1B, you can go through our COGCC system via the data and the database inquiry tool. And you can go to the company detail report, click on annual registration data, and then you will see the counts for what your wells are for the mitigation fee. And then you can actually see a well list by clicking on the view well list button. So the Form 1B is based on our new electronic form platform, eForms. As I just said, you can access it via the forms page. This is what the login page looks like on the right. When you first open up the new eForms platform, you'll see a choice of forms. You would click on the Form 1B to file online. This system is set up kind of like TurboTax, and so it sort of walks you through it where you fill out the information and then you click the next button at the bottom to progress through the form. You can go back and forth through the different tabs, but the first one is as typical as your information for your contact and the operator information. After you've done that, it's going to bring you to a well list page, which should auto-populate all of the wells that were in your December 31st, that you qualified wells for December 31st of 2021. From this page, there are some useful tools. You can export the well list to Excel and you validate it in your own space. There's at the bottom of the page, it shows the total number of wells that are being counted on the well list that are used to establish the average daily per well production, excluding tribal wells. So that's why there's a column for tribal wells, because those are included in the production information. They are not included when you do the fee calculation. Once you've looked at that and verified that, there's the annual mitigation fee page. And this is where we are actually auto-populating and calculating your average daily per well production for that calendar year, and then the per well fee that you qualify for. So those gray boxes are auto-populated, you cannot change them. The operator's per well fee is calculated as per Rule 405C, and that's that $225 per well for the average daily per well production greater than, and I missed that there, I'll have to update that. I think it's 15 BOE or 22 MCFE. And it's $125 per well if it's less than or equal to 15 BOE or 22 MCFE. And then finally at the bottom, it will calculate the actual fee, which is just simply the operator's per well fee times the total number of wells. On the next tab, this is where you're going to enter your liability insurance information. This is another requirement of the rule that you provide us certificates of insurance. This will populate any existing insurance information we have automatically and calculate the total liability amount. If that is correct and there are no changes, you just need to click the two boxes at the bottom and then click next. But if you have changes, there is that button there or a question that asks if there were any renewal or changes during the previous 12 months. You would select yes, and that will provide you a space to add your insurance information or update it. And you just simply add the line with the producer name, the insurer, the type of insurance it is, the policy number, what the which occurrence limit is for that, and then the effective date and expiration date. And you can do that for as many certificates of insurance as you need to. We do require that you submit proof of your certificate of insurance as an attachment. And so for each certificate or each insurance proof, you need to submit a PDF for that. And there is a way to attach that as a PDF. Once that is done, you also need to add a description of what your renewal or changes are to your liability insurance during that 12-month period. And then again, finally, you would select the validate the boxes at the bottom and then before hitting next. The last step of the Form 1B is simply just the signature and certification. This is pretty straightforward, and there's a box there for comments. We encourage you to actually review the form before you submit it. Now, once you've submitted, this is going to take you to our electronic payment system. And the COGCC's electronic payment system utilizes a cart for payment. This is going to allow for several things, hopefully that are convenient, one of which is multiple 1Bs can be placed in a cart before a payment. So if you happen to be an operator that's paying for multiple other operators, you can do so and then pay for all of them together. This also, our system allows you, if you've got split duties where the person filing the Form 1B is not the same person as will be paying it, there is a way to send the person paying it a URL that will directly link them, that will allow them to continue with the payment. But I do want to remind people that the way the system is set up, until payment has been received, we do not consider the Form 1B actually submitted. So it's only after the payment is processed successfully that the form is received by COGCC. This is what the actual payment system looks like. It's pretty straightforward as far as way normally you would submit payment. Our payments must be made through ACH debit, which is just an electronic check. If you have an ACH debit block with your bank, you'll have to add the following number there that's listed in order for it to go through successfully. You're just kind of going to step through each of those tabs, entering your customer information, the payment information. And then once you have submitted and it's successful, you'll get a receipt. It will be sent via an email, or you also can download the receipt after the payment. So that's the 1B. And now I'll move on to 1C, and we'll save questions, I think, to the end after myself and Diane have finished our presentations. So the 1C, this again is what Jane, I think, covered last week already, but this is our form to consolidate subsidiary companies as described in the rule 702C and 705. So the parent operator will, if they wish to consolidate their subsidiary companies, the parent would submit this Form 1C, and then this will allow information on the form for the Form 3A to be consolidated by production and the number of wells. The parent needs to file the Form 1C prior to submitting their Form 3 if you do want to consolidate. We are now beta testing this one with the other ones, and we would hopefully will release by the end of this week. This is built in our online form as an online form, so this is different from the e-forms or web forms. There is, like I said, access via the forms page. This would be the login for it. Once you do log in, you would select the Form 1C button. And what I'm going to do is just kind of step through the various boxes on this page. You can see the top there just as a header, and it just gives you some information guidance from the rule itself. And it just simply is saying that what the obligations are, or the eligibility is for the operator to consolidate its subsidiaries. You can do this. You're guaranteed, the parent operator is guaranteeing all the financial certainty for itself and the consolidated subsidiary entities. One thing that we do want to make clear is that you must consolidate all of your subsidiary operators. You cannot pick and choose ones to consolidate and others not to consolidate. This is only valid for the Form 3 financial assurance plan. It doesn't apply to the Form 1B in terms of consolidation, with the exception of the general liability insurance, which does allow you to consolidate as long as both the operator and subsidiary operators are named on the coverage. So you're going to enter your operator information. That's pretty straightforward. After you've done that, you're going to enter your subsidiary operators just by simply selecting the name of the operator, putting in a number, the COGCC operator number, and it should populate the name. Once you do that, you're going to hit the submit button, and you will get the Form C is auto approved, and it will show you which subsidiaries have been added underneath your parent company. The Form 3B, Federal Financial Assurance Wells. This is so that you can provide us a list of which wells have federal financial assurance. And this again is for the Form 3. What you are going to be provided is a well list of all of your wells. And then you're going to have to go through and provide for all of the wells, any of them that have federal financial assurance, we would ask for the amount. We're beta testing this also right now as we speak. This is an e-form. So this is again, one of our newer platforms. From the login page, you will see a link there to the 3B. Again, this is the TurboTax style where you're going to enter your operator information first. And then for the federal financial assurance tab, what you're going to do, it's sort of a 3-step process with the 1, 2, and 3 there. You're going to click that greenish colored button first, and that will download a well list template, an Excel template that's going to look like this. The one on the top there is what I've downloaded for this example. And that shows all of the existing wells, and for any that had federal financial assurance, it already populates the amount. And then on the second screen there, I've added a couple new ones, and you can only edit and change column D. All other cells of the template are locked and protected, so you can't change them. You can only add values for the amount field in column D there. Once you've done that, you're simply going to save it. And then the modified well list, you're going to upload that using the next button there in the orange color. And after you hit that upload button, it will auto update those gray boxes at the bottom, which shows the number of wells that you have in your list with federal financial assurance, and then the total amount for those. Once you've done that, you're going to hit that third button you can actually see a list of all the wells that have federal financial assurance. And this again is for verification validation that you can download. After that, you can hit the submit button or go to the next tab and sign it and provide any comments to go along with it. And you can also review the form. So that is all I have for the 1B, 1C, 3B. And at this point, Diane, if you're available and want to talk about the 6A, that would be great.
Thanks, Chris. Just give me a moment to get that started. Why isn't it letting me do that? Okay. Yeah, just give me a moment to transition, and we'll get Diane going. Oops. Okay, I'm almost there. And Diane, have you unmuted yourself?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Great. Thank you.
Perfect.
It's not the share. There it is. Oh, that's good. All right. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. Diane McCoy, I'm going to be going over the Form 6A today. The Form 6A is what we use to designate wells as out of service. The Form 6A is not reviewed or approved when it comes to the original out of service designation. So the operator will fill out the form and then submit it, and then all the wells are automatically designated out of service, and there's no staff review on this form. Next slide, please, Hannah. So I'm just going to kind of walk through creating the form where the data filter go in. So obviously start in web forms, your new form, you choose the form 6A, hit create. Next slide. You'll give your operator number, and then you'll select out of service designation. Eventually there'll be 3 little options to choose from, because in the rules you'll notice there is out of service, repurpose, or out of service alternative timeline for wells that have been sold. So right now we're just releasing this out of service designation for how to designate wells out of service. So you enter your operator number, choose out of service designation, save. It's going to pop up again, ask you to confirm the information is correct. You say yes, and you can move on to the actual form. Next slide, Hannah. And so the first tab is very similar to most of our tabs in web forms with the operator contact information. So the operator information is automatically filled in based off the operator number you supplied during the form creation wizard. So those are gray boxes, so you can't edit them. Then you'll add your contact information like normal. The next data field is the well plugging data. And so it's the number of wells the operator has plugged in the previous 12 months. And that number is going to be automatically calculated based off of information in our database. And so the other piece of information that the operator must supply on this tab is evidence of financial capability. And this is a large text box. I think it's either 5,000 or 6,000 characters. So there should be enough room for you to provide details in there. If not, you can always add an attachment to the form. Next slide, please. The next tab is the out of service designation tab. And this is where you're going to upload the wells that you want to be designated as out of service, and where you download the template, import the data. And so this is the actual form itself. You'll notice the boxes are gray. You can't edit the data on this tab. It's all created once you import the template data. So download your template, add all the wells that you need to be designated out of service, supply all the details across the spreadsheet, and then import that data, and then that will automatically populate these kind of the summary of what type of wells are being designated as out of service. Next slide, please. So the top here, so this slide's very busy, is kind of a snippet of what the template looks like. And start with, you add the API, your well name and number, and then the last data production, and then the rest ones are details about if it's within 2,000 feet of a certain criteria. And so those are just yes or no options. And so each line is or each row is a individual well. You need to supply the data for, excuse me, all the columns across the spreadsheet for each well. And then based off the number of wells you add onto this template and then import into the 6A, that will calculate the plugging due date for all the wells. And so this is right in the rules and outlining about the number of wells that you submit on a Form 6A, what your plugging due date will be. And so I've just included the bit that is for Form 6A submitted prior to January 1st, 2024. There's different plugging due dates based off the number of wells that are on the Form 6A. Next slide, please. After you import the data, and this is just test data, random well selected. So you import the data into the slide and then, or into the form, and the form will pop up what you have imported, and it gives you a kind of a summary there. It translates your yeses and no to check marks for yes or X's for no. If there's an error on any of your data, you'll see the text highlighted in red, and then that second column says valid. It'll have a little exclamation mark. You can hover over and it'll give you where the issue is. There's also the ability to filter at the top. You can see only show invalid rows. And so if there was a typo or something was incorrect or database didn't recognize an API or whatever the case may be, it can flag that, and then you can go back into your template, correct the data, clear your data from the form itself, and then re-import your spreadsheet. Next slide, please. And so here's just kind of from that summary that I was showing, it automatically populates those data fields on the Form 6A itself that were just grayed out. And so it's after you import that data, that should be automatic, and it summarizes the wells that are within 2,000 feet of all these different criteria, and it'll show you the total number of wells you're designating as out of service, and then it'll highlight if there's valid or invalid. And so you can know if you need to go back in and address any errors on your spreadsheet. Next slide, please. And the last, well, second to last tab, I think it's my last slide here, but the submit tab is the same as all of the submit tabs on our web forms. You know, you have the opportunity to have a comment if there's any additional clarity or anything else you need to add to the form, and then you add your name and certify that everything is correct here. And that's the form itself. So the main kind of meat of the form is within that template, and then getting those wells uploaded into the form. And then once you hit submit, the form will come across automatically. Like I said, there's no work groups to review the Form 6A. It comes across, and then all the wells that were listed on the form will be designated as out of service, and you can then go check out their scout cards, and you should be able to see that on the scout card itself as being out of service with the plugging due date. I think the last slide is just the question slide. So that's all I have for the Form 6A.
Great, thank you, Diane. I only have one question so far for the Q&A, so anybody else that has questions can go ahead and chat those in and we'll get to those. And the first question is, what if our insurance companies are not listed on the Form 1B list of operators for insurance?
I can try to answer that, Hannah. So with regards to providing insurance companies on the 1B, it's a free data field entry. So you can type in, I believe, any name for insurance company. So there's not a drop-down list of insurance companies. You're just providing that, adding it to it.
Can I add to that really quickly, Chris?
Sure.
Although we require financial assurance providers to register with us, we do not require the insurance companies to register with us.
Great, thanks, Jarrett. I don't have any other questions, so we'll just wait for a few moments to see if any come in. On the screen here, I've posted all of the next meetings that we have planned. And we'll get back to just regular meetings, I think, in August. Oh, and the next question is, I missed the beginning, apologies. When is the Form 1B live in eForms?
So our expectation is it will be available to everybody in the next day or two. We are finishing up beta testing on that right now. So it should be available very soon. And again, announcements will be made, and hopefully it'll be clear to people that it's available.
Great, thanks, Chris. The next question is also, what about operators who have acquired wells from another operator and have approved Form 9s?
Do you want to answer that, Jarrett, or try to?
I don't know what the question is. What about operators that have approved Form 9s?
And so
perhaps that's in relation to the well count for the 1B. If so, then the rule is the well count as of December 31st. So that's what we're using, is the well count as of December 31st.
Great, thank you, Jarrett. And if further clarification is needed, you can just drop that in the chat. The next question is, may the Form 3B be filled concurrently with the Form 1B, or should it be filed first?
Say the question, see,
Okay, can you?
It can be filled concurrently with the 3B. They're actually independent of each other.
So just remember, the 3B does not affect your 1B.
Correct.
3B is all about your consolidation for the Form 3. The only thing that the rules allow you to consolidate all your operators together for is for your plan, your Form 3.
Scott, actually, that's the 3B is for federal financial assurance wells identifying. Right. Yeah, but again, that doesn't have a connection to the Form 1B, so they can be filled concurrently.
Yes, the fee is charged on those federal wells, so there's no interdependency.
Great, thank you, everyone. And the next question is, when help is needed to fill out these new forms, will COGCC members be available? And what is the time frame in getting back to our questions?
The answer is yes. We will hopefully have staff available to get back to you as promptly as we can.
Chris, are those going to be the same points of contacts that we have on the website for each form, or no?
They will be, yes. And currently, with 3 of the forms, I am the contact, and I may be passing on questions to those who could answer if I can't answer myself. But yes, I would say to go to the form page by clicking on the name of the form, and it will show a staff contact for each form. That's the best person to contact and ask questions.
Great, I'm trying to pull that up real quick.
Yeah, if you want to
Folks, okay, so this is our main website, and then where do I go?
click on regulation and then forms. And then if you click on the name, like the 1B there, and we'll also update that list. Well, you can see there's a staff contact listed, and that will be the best source for who to contact.
Great.
So,
Let me find the next question. Toolbar moves around whenever I share things. Okay. All right. It will not let me add the operator number for the insurance company on the add line.
I think they answered their own question in a subsequent
Oh, perfect.
message there, Hannah.
Thank you. The next question is, how is the disproportionately impacted community defined or determined?
So that's there. It's described in our rules, in the definition portion of the rules. I'm happy to work with you offline on giving you a very specific answer to that, but there is a clear definition as to how a DI community is defined.
Oh, here it is.
Yep, you got it right there. It describes it.
Great, thank you, Chris. And then the next question is, for the Form 1Bs, if there are Form 9s pending and the transfer date of the sale is December 1st, 2021, does the seller or the buyer submit the 1Bs?
Jared, do you want to answer that, or I can?
Sure. As you presented earlier, that would be the seller who submits to 1B because it's still in the database that the well belongs to the seller.
Great, thank you, Jared. Well, that's it for questions for now, but we'll give folks a few more minutes to type in those questions. Okay, the next question is, can all of the Form 1A authorized users be listed in the Form 1B? It looks like that isn't the case right now.
That's a good question. Do you know the answer, Jared?
No, I don't understand the question. I don't.
Yeah, Holly, I think that was you asked it. I can talk to you offline about that, try and answer that question.
Thanks, Chris. A few more minutes for folks to type their questions in, but I'll go ahead and start the wrap up. And here are the next till the end of the year meetings that we have scheduled. And then if you want to be added to the operator email list, please email me at this email address and I will put you on the list.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks very much. Have a good day.
Lost my toolbar again. All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.